Which recording studio essential do you think is the most often missed off when a new studio or home studio is set up? What if I told you that not having one of these in place could lose you a lot of money and a lot of time, and that many studios don't even consider using one of these? Hey everyone, Joe here. I know this sounds a little over dramatic, but if you don't have an external hard drive or another backup solution in your studio, you're making a grave mistake. And this applies to whether you've got a small home studio and you're just recording for yourself and your friends, or if you run a big studio and you get in clients. In this video, we'll be covering why having a backup solution for your studio is so important, and also I'll be covering what is the best backup solution for you. So all that to say, we need a fail-safe, just like you have insurance on your car in case it breaks down. We need something to keep our files backed up, keep them safe, so that if anything like this does happen, which over the years it's inevitably going to happen once or twice, then you don't have to worry. In that scenario that I just went through, if you had a backup solution all along, it would have hopefully gone completely differently. The error with the tracks or the deletion, whatever happened to the tracks, the audio might have still happened anyway, but you could, if you had a cloud backup going, you could have gone in and downloaded some older versions, and maybe they would have had to redo some recording, but hopefully they wouldn't have had to re-record the entire session. Backup solutions don't have to be expensive as well. I'm going to talk about the different kinds of backup solutions in just a moment, and often they're just a case of you set it and forget it, so you've just got that peace of mind. It's really important to put this in place at the beginning when you first start your studio. So let's talk about types of backup and which one would be right to you. So there are two main types of backups. You've got your physical backups and your cloud or online backup. So for a physical backup, you would have an actual physical hard drive, an external hard drive or internal hard drive in a case, or even something like DVDs or memory sticks. I wouldn't recommend those for a reliable backup, but in any case, it's some piece of hardware that you have that you can copy your files to. You could also have an array of hard drives connected to your router so that you can access them over the internet as well, but it is still a physical backup. So this is a really easy to set up option and can be a cheap option depending on how much data you need to back up. You can simply buy a terabyte, 2 terabyte, however much you need, an external drive, plug it into your computer with a USB cable, and the simplest way of backing up would be to manually copy the files over, but you don't want to have to rely on yourself remembering to do that, and also it's just a bit of a pain and a waste of time. There are a bunch of systems out there, software, that will automatically back up certain files and folders on a schedule for you. I'll leave a link in the description to a couple of suggestions below, but there are a huge amount, and some hard drives even come with their own software that will let you do that, let you schedule backups. Windows and Mac have their own built-in software that can do a similar thing. Time Machine on Mac and File History on Windows. The benefits of using a physical backup is that it's really straightforward to set up, like I mentioned. You also have total control of your backups. They're right there in your hand, rather than having to rely on an internet connection or having to send off your files to a third party, because with the cloud backup, which we'll talk about in a moment, it'll be a company that's going to have partial control of your data. It's going to be stored on their servers, whereas with this way, you have complete control. It's also just a one-off cost. Again, we'll see that cloud backups often have a monthly cost associated with them, whereas just buying a hard drive, it's just a one-off cost, unless you need to start replacing your hard drive later down on if it fails or anything like that, but they generally last for quite a few years. The cons of physical backups: one, you have to upgrade them eventually, like I just mentioned. Eventually they will die out, or if you need more space, you'll need to physically go out and buy a new hard drive. Secondly, they take up physical space. If you don't have much space in your studio and you have a lot of external hard drives lying around, it can get messy and you've got to organize them, whereas with cloud backups, that's not a problem. And thirdly, they are prone to theft and damage. You could just drop your hard drive and it breaks, or if it gets stolen, you've lost your backups. Now let's talk about the other option, cloud backups. So with cloud backups, you'd sign up to a service like Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive, Dropbox, Backblaze, any of these services that you can upload your files to them on a schedule, and then this third-party company will store your data on their hard drives. Typically, these companies will charge a monthly fee, although often they will give you a few gig free just to get you started. So that is a positive of using a cloud backup. You can get started for free straight away without having to buy anything. You can also expand your storage immediately just by upgrading to a more expensive plan. It's seamless and it's fast rather than having to go out and buy another hard drive. It also means you can keep a constant backup. If you're working directly off of the cloud hosted files, or you're using something like Backblaze, which constantly updates any files that are changed, it means they're always going to be backed up rather than running a physical backup at the end of the day. And it allows you to access your files from anywhere where you have an internet connection. There are cons to cloud backups as well. Firstly, there's a monthly cost involved. So if you don't want to be tied to a subscription, if you can't afford that, and you'd rather just pay the one-off, then it might not work for you. You're also relying on a third party. As I mentioned when we talked about physical drives, your file backups aren't with you, so you're relying on your internet connection. You're relying on the company's network and security and internet connection. If you want complete control and instant access to your files, then cloud backups might not be for you. So one size doesn't fit all. It depends what your needs are and how comfortable you are with these different options. For me, I do a mixture of both. I have an external hard drive, which I copy all my files to on a schedule every weekend. I also use a cloud backup system, which constantly backs up any files that are changed. So I've got the best of both worlds. I can access those cloud backup files from anywhere. And also, in case the internet goes down or anything like that, I've still got that physical drive as well. Also, for client projects that I'm currently working on, they're all uploaded to Google Drive, so that the client can access them too. So that is technically a third backup. Now, this might be overkill for you if you're just working on your own stuff, you're not working with clients. But if you want that extra protection, going for the physical and cloud options, it doesn't get much better than that. But just be aware though, a backup is only a backup if you actually tested it and you can restore your files from it. So make sure whatever backup option you use, you are just doing a test restore of a file every week, every month or so, whichever you're most comfortable with, just to make sure that your backup is working correctly. So if you don't already have a backup solution in place for your studio, hopefully you're considering it now. And in terms of what you should back up, just back up anything that you wouldn't be happy losing, basically. So if losing a day's work wouldn't be completely catastrophic for you, then a daily backup would be fine. But if you want to make sure that you have a constant backup of every file you have, then you might need to go for a more pricey cloud-based option. But everything I've mentioned in this video, I'll leave links below. There are a huge amount of options out there, so do your research, find out what's going to be best for you. So let me know in the comments section below, do you back up your files? And if so, what is your current backup solution? It'd be great to hear how things work in your studio. And as always, for more recording and mixing tips and tutorials, hit that subscribe button. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.